What effect does this FBI investigation have on her campaign this week?
Oh, I think it was a huge, cheap shot. I mean, no
cheap
doubt.
Shot.
Yeah, I do believe it's a cheap shot. I mean, this email investigation was probably the longest email investigation in FBI history. And for them to go back and gratuitously say they're looking at potentially new evidence, which they even admit may or may not be related to Secretary Clinton, I think is a cheap shot. I mean, the FBI is also looking at Russian...
What if we find out that in the end the FBI's onto something?
Yeah, and what if we find out that Donald Trump has actually been talking, and his campaign has been talking with the Russians? Paul Manafort, his campaign manager, is being investigated, former campaign manager, is being investigated for his Russian ties and the millions that he received from Russian sources. What if we find out about that? What if we find out that...
It just shows the position potentially the FBI director was in. Now, you called it a cheap shot, and just yesterday,
right.
President Obama did an interview. I think he was in Florida, when he questioned the FBI's decision. This is what he said about that.
There is a norm that, when there are investigations, we don't operate on innuendo, we don't operate on incomplete information, we don't operate on leaks. We operate based on concrete decisions that are made.
It is rare when a president criticizes the head of the FBI. Was that a cheap shot?
No, I believe that the cheap shot was what Mr. Comey did within this decision window when people were voting, a decision he made contrary to all of the advice of lawyers at the Department of Justice and contrary to his own instinct when he said that he didn't want to, along with the other 15 security agencies, say that the Russians were responsible definitively for the DNC hack because he was afraid that might be misinterpreted in the election. Well, if he was afraid that might be misinterpreted, then why would he send a letter like this to Republicans saying that information that he admits he has no idea is or is not connected to Secretary Clinton?
Was the president wrong to criticize the head of the FBI?
No, I think he was right, and I think he's not alone. This is unprecedented. There's something strange going on at the FBI. I don't know what it is. I think eventually we'll find out. But before that time, we're all going to vote on Tuesday nonetheless. And come hell or high water, whatever the Russians want, whatever cheap shots people want to fire at Hillary Clinton in these final days, people are going to go to the polls and confirm that only Hillary Clinton can actually do this job.
Well,
unlike Donald Trump, she doesn't confuse our enemies for our allies, and she wants wages to go up. And Donald Trump believes wages are too high in America.
I know you think